All right, so I came back today with some fresh ears and listened to this mix, and I'm not happy with it. And I think we probably made some changes that we shouldn't have, even though it made logical sense, leaving room for the vocals and all of that kind of stuff. But we've taken away something from the original track, and it's mostly in the bass and in that guitar chunk sound. So I'll show you what I'm talking about. Let me just play. It's when the chorus hits, so it's about here. All right, here we go. It's lost some of that edge, that distorted edge, and I think it's because we EQ'd some of the top end out of that bass and widened that guitar chunk. So I'm going to bypass those. So let's find those real quick. Where is our 808? Well, here's guitar chunk. Okay, let's bypass that. Let's bring that back. Put it back right in the center. Okay, and actually we can... I went through and edited the guitar chunk. You can see here I edited out the... because I felt like it was messing with the snare drum a little bit. And it was kind of taking away some of that build of the snare drum. But if we leave it right down the middle, I think we can bring that back. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to highlight all of it. I'm going to hit delete. And I'm going to go to the draw tool over here. And I'm going to drag it all the way back out. Back to where it was. There we go. Okay. I'm pretty much just putting it back exactly where it was. Not even mixing it. Except I took a little bit of the low end out. But that's it. Alright, so let's find the 808 real quick. Where did I put the... Oh, it's the very first track. Okay. Alright. Alright, let's bypass this. See, it's got that cool, like, that fuzzy, distorted edge. That's kind of what made the track hit. So I'm just taking the EQ off and leaving it as it was. Alright, so let's just play it all together. Yeah. Alright, so let's listen. Well, I mean, I'm going to include a copy of the stems for you to download if you want to hear the whole track, but I don't want to waste your time just listening to the track, right? But normally that's a step I would take, is just play the entire track and listen for anything where you're like, the mix isn't hitting the same, or, I probably ducked too much of this out. And I would highly recommend that you have fresh ears. So a lot of the time, like last night, I was working probably a good 2 to 3 hours straight on this track, and trying to get a final mix at the end of that is a bad idea. You want to give yourself a break, go do something else for a little bit, kind of get your mind out of that mindset, give your ears a chance to reset, and then when you come back to it, you're going to have a fresh new perspective. There's always like memes where producers, late at night, they're working on a track and they think it's dope, and then they wake up the next morning and listen to it and they're like, ugh, what was I thinking? Like, this sounds like garbage. But that doesn't happen to me as often, but with this mix it did. I was like, I kind of messed the mix up. Like, the mix was almost better before I started notching things out and doing the EQ stuff. But it was mainly just because of those two instruments. So before your final mix, before you bounce it down and all of that, you definitely want to get some fresh ears on it and just give yourself some time away. All right, but I've actually listened to the whole thing, and that was the only thing that was bothering me about this mix, so we're ready to bounce this down to tracked out stems and a final wave file as well. So I'm just going to hit export. I'm going to go wave file, and that was under the file menu item right here. I'm just going to call this silence. Okay, and the first thing I'm going to do is... normally what I do is I save it to my desktop let me see where this is routed to. I can't even tell. Let me do it one more time. Normally what I do is I route it to my desktop and then just move it over to a external folder that I have for, to keep all my beats as a backup. And I also back it up in the cloud with using a site called MediaFire. Just so you have double backup, right? You definitely don't want to lose your work. So I'm going to choose desktop as the folder it's going to. There's already a track called Silence, which we're going to delete. So I'm just right-clicking and hitting delete. I'm going to hit save. It still thinks that track's there, and it's saying, do you want to replace it? I'll put yes, that's fine. Now, if I click this split mixer tracks, that's what's going to put it into stems. But first, I'm just going to bounce it down to one wave file, so I have that. And actually, I was going to say I was going to pause the video, but this won't take too long because we've already bounced this down once, so there's not a lot to render. It's just those two instruments we have at the bottom and then these wave files, so it won't take long. The device is probably used by another... There may not be memory available. Oh, I've never seen this before. Oh, I know what it is. So I was working on... Well, first let's see if this works. I'm just going to double-click it and see... Oh, is that the wave or is that an MP3? Hold on one second. Let's see. So let me close this out. I have Cakewalk open. And the reason I have Cakewalk open is I'm putting together a tutorial on how to create, and likely you've already taken this tutorial if you're watching this, but just how to create a track completely for free, where you don't have to buy a DAW and you don't have to do any of that, buy any plugins, and just use the stock stuff. But let me see here. So let me see which one is the wave. So I'm hovering over. I can see this is an MP3. So I'm going to double click on the wave and sounds like it recorded okay. Oh, one thing I do want to mention that I did not do when I was exporting this, and you should do every time, is we're just going to Control A, which will highlight everything. I just need to be in the playlist. Here we go. All right. Control A. There we go. Everything's highlighted. I'm just going to drag it over to the right one beat. So it has a little bit of silence before the lead in. That way, here, let me make sure this is on beat. Here we go. That way it doesn't start right at the beginning, because you could have a little pop or an audio error, or it doesn't catch everything. So I'm just moving that slightly over. Okay. I don't know what keeps happening. There we go. Let's listen. Yeah. Sounds good. All right. So we're going to bounce that down again. So export. Actually, I'm going to clear out my desktop first so there's no confusion. I'm going to clear out these two files, put them in my recycle bin. All right. There we go. All right. Now we're going to bounce it down. File. Export. Wave. Desktop. There we go. And click save. I'm leaving split mixer tracks unselected, so this will bounce it down just to one stereo track, a wave file. And then I'm going to create a stems folder as well. So if I were to sell this beat on BeatStars, for example, or you wanted to send the beat to somebody, it'd be, you could send this smaller wave file to somebody, or you could send all of the stems. Here we go, file. And normally when I create a stems folder, I do like to add, just so I remember, I'm going to add a new folder here, and I'm going to name it not only the name of the song, but I also like to include the beats per minute, which is 93 for this one, and the key it's in, which is C sharp major. There we go. Just as a reminder. Here we go. So we'll do that. So hold on. What just happened? That's my desktop. Let's export one more time. Export wave. I'm going to look at the desktop. Stems. Here we go. Start. And we're going to click this split mixer tracks to ensure that they're in individual tracks. We'll let that render. I think the big lesson from this video, if you don't remember anything else, is listen with fresh ears before you bounce it down and have your final mix. All right, cool. So we have that set, and if you open the folder, you can see all the individual files are in there. Well, you'll see in a minute. It's just taking its time. There we go. And I do like to remove the current file, because that's basically all of the channels playing at the same time. I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to delete the master, this one as well. So if I were to send this to you know, potential client or something, or send it to you, for example, and you wanted to write to record and record to it, you don't necessarily need those files. All right, so we have our final mix. I've just got a few more wrapped up videos, and you've been through this entire course, so congratulations on that. And I'll see you in the next video. Hey, what's going on? I hope you've enjoyed this training. This training is just part of a larger course, so if you want to take the whole course, just go to this playlist right here. Also, if you subscribe to my channel, you're going to get a lot of information on how to get your music into TV and film. So if that's something that interests you, go ahead and subscribe, comment, like, all of those things. Let's go.